Ready to start your next program but not sure where to start? Today we're going to be talking about how to set training volume and how to track whether you're doing enough or whether you're doing too much. My name is Luke Miller, part owner of J3 University, owner of J3 Coaching, where we have not only elevated the standard of coaching across the industry with our coursework, but on the applied side, delivered athletes on the Olympia stage, won dozens and dozens of pro cards and hundreds of overalls throughout the entire globe, where we've actually taken this information and applied it with multiple variety of different clients, and we're gonna break it down for you today in this video. A lot of the place that people get stuck as far as starting a new program design is they're excited to progress. So they just walked off stage and they got told they have X weak body part and Y weak body part. So they go in, they do 25 sets a week for that body part, and in 5 weeks they're ended up with an injury profile or so fatigued that they can't actually make progressions. And so what we need to look at is the low and slow method. When we look at how you adapt to stimulus over time, it kind of lives on what we call a U curve. And so how much you dose that stimulus is going to increasingly improve how much hypertrophy you stimulate up to a point. When you reach that point, we're going to start to see that come back down the U curve and actually lower our ability to adapt to that stimulus and minimize our ability to actually drive progress. And so what the low and slow method does, it allows us to set execution on the forefront, which is we're going to touch on more in point 2, but it also allows us to get an idea of how well we recover from the initial setup and then start to kind of add volume as we go throughout. Especially if you are post-show, that training program the first 4 to 6 weeks is probably not going to change volume anyways. It needs to be similar to what you just finished your prep with. And so the low and slow method is a great way to start your post-show for any of you guys that are post-show watching this video. The next piece that we're going to look at as far as step number 2 is nailing execution. Now, this is why when you hear me talk about training is the key to creating more progress or raising your glass ceiling of progress. The reason being is training is the core stimulus that drives hypertrophy. Now we have supporting factors in PEDs and nutrition and all of these variables that contribute to you being able to accrue more tissue over time. But if we don't even get the basics, the crawling before we walk or sprint right of execution off the forefront, then it's not gonna matter how hard you train because you're not actually delivering the stimulus in the first place. And so what the low and slow method in step 1 allows us to do is really take a lot of time to review training footage, set up all of these movements according to how you move, make sure that you get a high quality stimulus out of all this, the movements that are in the program design, drop any movements in the program design that we don't think we're getting a lot of stimulus out of, and kind of refine that program to be fit exactly to the way that you need it and the way that you currently move, fix some of your cueing, and get a ton out of every single set. What this process does in the first 3 to 4 weeks is it actually improves the amount of stimulus you deliver per set, which actually lowers the need of the number of sets that you need to deliver. So if you don't go through this process on the forefront, not only are you going to be not delivering a great stimulus 12, 15, 16 weeks into the program design, but you're going to be adding sets that aren't actually adding a ton of benefit because you weren't doing the initial steps in the first place very well. And so if we want to actually have a program that builds with you along as your progress, this is a huge part of the first 4 weeks of program design where you should have gone through every single pattern within the first 2 to 4 weeks, made sure execution is there. And then once that's fixed and we've had a week or 2 of training with everything fixed, we can then look at, okay, do we need more volume to continue to drive this stimulus? So we're gonna start low and slow. We're gonna fix how we actually deliver that stimulus. And then finally, we're gonna set up assessment points throughout your program design every 6 to 8 weeks. Now, these assessment points are meant to reflect on, did we take progressions within every session? How fast did those progressions actually move? And how well recovered were we in between sessions? So did we finish our leg day, and then by the time we got to our next leg day 3 or 4 days later, did we feel raring to go? Absolutely no soreness, absolutely could handle more volume in that first leg day, or maybe in both? Or are we at the point where it's like the quad focus leg day that came first leaves some residual quad soreness by the time we get to that second one, but just because that second day is a hamstring focused day, you're able to get away with it? Then we're not looking at needing to really add more stimulus to that. Now, what I would say is if this is your first time managing your program design on your own, don't be afraid to use the assessment points to test your limits. So if you're getting to the point where you're seeing yourself pushing the borderline of being able to recover, it's okay to learn the lesson of, I pushed this too far. I know where my break point is now, and I can bring that program design back once we deload it around that 8 to 10 week mark. And so that's kind of usually why I set those assessment points at every 8 weeks. The reason I do it every 8 weeks is most people, if the program design is written well, we're looking at some level of deload, whether it's a small deload or a full deload every 8 to 10 weeks anyways. And so we can really assess where's that program need need to start back up once we get after the deload. Now you can make those assessment points more narrow if you want, but you need previous data to know whether what you're doing is driving adaptation or whether it's keeping you in a place that's just not very productive in the first place. So that's why I like the 8-week mark. It's plenty of data. You probably got a deload coming soon anyways. We can assess, make change, deload, implement, and track that new data on that new block of 8 weeks. And so this is the general framework for how we're going to do this. So first, we're going to start low and slow. We're going to be like a crock pot. We're going to cook it up very slow. It's going to come out nice and perfect texture because you're going to be able to understand what it means to actually have a program design that fits all your needs. Step 2 is we're going to fix all the execution. We're going to answer the question of what does an actual set stimulus feel like if we fix the way that we move throughout all of our program design. If we do this well, we're going to get a lot of stimulus out of one set, where your need is now going to go from 4 or 5 sets per movement to maybe 2 or 3 because you're just getting that much more out and you're more efficient. And then lastly, we're going to create a system for checking ourselves. So that assessment point every 8 weeks is going to allow us to look at the progress we made, how well we recovered, decide what changes need to be made, implement, and repeat. And this is going to be your system for checking how much volume you need in your program design. If you don't want to handle this yourself, obviously we have the whole team of J3U coaches that can do this custom to your needs for your physique, build your needs analysis, match program design to that needs analysis, and then go through the full movement analysis with you as a part of that onboarding process to make sure that the movements selected match the way that you move. But if you're not up for that, we also have some program designs that you could just look at for yourself. We have the X-frame hypertrophy for all the guys and for the girls that are in the more muscular divisions. We also have the new Hourglass program for bikini and wellness girls, or those girls that just want a lot of leg development and want to be the hottest one in the gym. Totally get that. So if you guys have questions about anything I discussed in this video, any of the programs or coaching things that we offer, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We got a ton of videos every week to help you with your physique development process. If you're wondering off the back of this program, like how do I learn how to execute things, make sure you check out all the videos that we've done so far leading up to this. We've got videos for back, legs, glutes, chest that are going to walk you through exactly how to do that. You can also check out our coursework at J3 University. But until next time, we'll see you back on the gym floor for more information on how to change your physique in the future.